all you lovely viewers out there. After the break, there'll be something a little bit different with mobile rolling. So tune in, and I'm sure you'll all find it very interesting. My pleasure to be talking to Mario Borg from Belmore Park in South Australia. Welcome to Mobile Rolling, Mario.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you for having me on.
Not a problem. With the stud season fast upon us, and now that we can serve mares from the 1st of September, it won't be long before everyone's starting to book their mares in. So a lot of people would know you from an administration point of view, being on the Strath Club, having a bit of lobbying with the government. But what we're going to talk about tonight or today is some stallions that you're standing at the stud. I've noticed a growth over the last 3 or 4 years to the stage now where you've probably got probably more stallions than 3 or 4 studs put together in South Australia. So first of all, how did you get to be involved or wanting to have the passion to stand the stallions at stud, considering that it's pretty time intensive?
Well, I've always liked breeding. I've always had that passion for breeding. We used to do it many years ago with my father-in-law. But then I sort of...
So your father-in-law who was whom?
Joe Siampa.
And what did he have a
He
strong
had
interest in the horses?
Yeah, he had strong interest in horses. He had horses like Franco Capri, Stand and Deliver, 8 Diamonds. He bred Not So Cheap.
Not So Cheap, and he was a very, very good juvenile.
Very good juvenile.
He was sort of unfashionably bred, as in inverted commas, but was very, very, very good horse.
Very good horse. Very good horse. Very unfashionably bred, and but he came out to be a really nice horse.
So you had the horses there, and you sort of raced a few with him, but no stallions back those days.
No.
So what made you come in the last, say, 5 years to say, well, I want to give back something to the sport, or just an interest you had, or what actually ignited that?
Well, it sort of really ignited it back again when the Allwood came along, and that was great.
And we're trying to resurrect the sales, yeah.
And that was kind of like I'd seen the people starting to get pretty excited about it, and I kind of thought, well, I've always been interested in breeding, and I really thought that really ignited it again. So I started looking for stallions, and started from there really.
So I don't know if you know, and this is certainly not a dig at you, but you are actually the United Nations of stallions, because you're Maltese.
Yes.
English is your second language, and you have stallions from Sweden, Denmark, New Zealand, Australia, and the USA. Are you aware of that?
Yes. We're actually thinking about putting flags for each paddock that they're in, for each country they're from. So they're doing a lot of work there at the moment.
Yeah, I've noticed you're doing a lot of fencing, and I'm sure that you could come down to Kangaroo and assist.
No, it's okay.
As well. So the stallions you've got 4 at the moment, or got 3 and 1 coming?
Yeah, we've got 4 and 1 coming.
So actually you've got 5, haven't you? You've got Carding and Boko, and Peak, and Imperial Count. So there's 3 trotters, and you've got to go collect, and 1
more coming.
My Generalese coming, right?
Yep, correct.
So at the moment I noticed that Peak, he's got. Well, his leading son is racing in South Australia at the moment.
Yes, Doff Your Cap.
Yeah, so he's won, I think he's won over 200,000 now.
Yeah, and he's won his last 5 in a row.
Has he? Yeah, and I think he's gone something like 53 or 54, which is pretty smart for a trotter. So is he with High Horrick Camp?
Yes, he is. Yeah. It was funny that, because I reckon I got Peak around the same time they got him. So, because...
Bit of insider trading then.
Yeah, so Ryan's partner asked me about it, and she goes, "You know much about this stallion, this trotter?" And I said, "Doff Your Cap." I said, "I know of him because he's by the stallion that I just got, Peak." So that's how I know of him, but I don't know much of the horse itself.
Well, I can remember when he raced. I think he was in New Zealand. Anthony Butt was driving him for his brother and said that he was the cleanest, smoothest trotter that he'd sat behind. So you got Doff Your Cap, and Invictus is, I think he's a very fast horse, so he's probably won 60,000, 70,000. So hopefully you'll get. So he's a chestnut, and if you're looking into the industry these days, there's not many chestnuts.
Not many chestnuts.
Not many chestnuts. Not many greys.
No.
Not many real black horses. Most of them dark bay and brown. So you had much interest or inquiries on Peak?
A lot.
A lot.
We've had a lot of interest in him. Yeah.
So he's $1,800
Yep.
service fee.
$1,800 service fee.
So then you got Cardigan Boko, who was in Victoria, I think, standing.
No, he was. Yes, he was in Victoria standing.
So he's owned in WA, isn't he, in Western Australia?
He's owned in Croatia, actually. The gentleman
really?
that owns him lives in Croatia.
Does he really? So yeah, we got another one.
Another one.
None from Poland or Alaska?
Not yet. We're working on it.
So he's had a few winners. I think it was Restoration or something like that's one of his.
Yes.
But his oldest progeny, he hasn't had many.
No, he hasn't. He's a bit. I think that stallion, he's a little bit underrated because what he does leave, they show a bit of ability, and I don't think he was really advertised.
So he was a Swede. He was from Sweden. That horse,
Yes,
wasn't he?
he wasn't
So was he
good.
brought out here to race, or what was the story?
He actually was brought out to race. He raced in Victoria and prominently in Western Australia, and he was just a sensational racehorse. Like if you go back and look at all his races, like he won by most of the races by about 200-300 metres. He just left them for nothing.
Blitzed them once again, this fellow. Far too strong, Cardigan Boko. He wins and wins quite comfortably all the way to Cardigan Boko. A distant second, Mr. Flair over Royal Harbour, Nico Sir.
He's just got that much high
Lucky
speed.
we haven't got the one thrown second. So Imperial Count, which is another horse sort of through the similar ownership or similar
Same
grade
owner.
5 down
Same
in
owner,
there.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So he was in New Zealand and he's had a few winners as well. And I just noticed of late some in Victoria.
Yep.
So they're all different breeds. He's an Angus horse, so he's American bred. The others are one's Denmark and one's Sweden. So you're getting all the different bloodlines. So,
Yeah, well, that's right.
and all of those will go to basically anything in any Australian bred mare.
And it's great to have different bloodlines. Like we've done a bit of homework, like you and I both done homework together to have that different bloodlines coming through, because in that way you're not based to one type of mare.
Oh,
or two
exactly. And some
go to
mares
anything.
won't go to us.
That's right.
You know, I mean, I know for a long time that I've been studying breeding and whatever. Sometimes the best horse or the dearest horse may not match with your mare, and a bloke will put it 3 times in a row to, just for argument's sake, Art Major, and it doesn't match Art Major. No. So he goes to something else, and it clicks, and then he realises that the match didn't work, and I'm a great believer it's not luck anymore.
No.
So they're the three trotters, and then we got Gotta Go Collect.
Got to go collect.
Who's probably the one of the there's probably no more than half a dozen of the Christian Cullen's standing.
No, he's probably. Well, I've done a bit of homework, so he's probably the most successful.
Yeah, I think he's if he hasn't side 200 winners, it's 199. I think there's about 93 or 4 in Australia.
Yep.
And there's some in New Zealand. So he's done a super job. Paces
And trotters, yes. Trotters. He's got some nice. Got a couple of nice fast class trotters. One called she's called She's a Chance. She's free for all. She's she's a nice trotter.
So it's interesting because a gentleman that I know very well, we won't mention any names, but he asked me to do a pedigree match and did a pedigree match, and he sent me a picture of the yearling broken in, going around, and it's a trotter.
Yeah, I've got the same video.
So you got to go collect, and then of course I think it's exciting that you're getting probably, and I might be a little bit biased, but my General Lee, who's a son of Art Major, and Art Major's had some success here in South Australia with Major Secret, but this horse here comes from the Sloy's family. My General Lee's out of Miami Lee. She produced some of the best, like Louvre, 480,000 Group 1s. Renaissance Man's a full brother to him. And I know this horse has had 15 foals. He's had 9 old enough to race, so the oldest are 3. And of those 9, 4 are won, and one's won nearly 100,000. They've all gone very quick time in New South Wales.
Yeah,
so
nice.
It's just riddled with really, really top horses like Black Type in every line. Yep. So and a lovely temperamented horse. So you'd be. He raced and won 200-something thousand and went 52.
I was so excited to get.
So you especially those for looking for a nice temperament horse, you know.
Yeah.
And hasn't been a lot of success with the Art Majors. as I said, Major Secret's done a pretty good job here. You've got Vincent, and other than that, but he come from probably, I don't know whether she ever won Broodmare of the Year in Australia, Miami Lee, but she probably should have.
Yeah, probably.
So how much will he be? He'll be $2,500.
$2,500 service fee.
Yeah.
By fault guarantee, obviously. But we're so excited to have him coming, and for Sloy's to send him over to us to help us in South Australia to start breeding again was fantastic.
Both of those stallions you've got, of course, got to go collect was a generous offer from
Mr.
Kevin Seymour
and the family, yep.
Of Leap to Fame, and of course this one's come from Sloy's, but it was never a for sale on my General Lee because it was Tony's last favourite horse.
That's right. And
one of the 2-year-olds that he's got racing at the moment, which is not very big, is called Tony's Dream, and it's a filly that is very, very highly regarded by.
It goes
very, very well.
Yes.
So he should match with any of the older breeds here in South Australia, and especially anyone that's got a Bettor's Delight or anyone that's had a Sunbeat somewhere or any of those Mach 3 line horses.
Yes.
So hopefully you should be able to do. Well, you're going to be pretty busy this year.
We're always busy, but the busier the better, really, to be quite honest. Especially when you're serving mares and doing AI and sending semen away. It's great to see that even though we're busy, it's good to see that there's more interest in breeding and creating a better foundation for our industry, especially here in South Australia.
Yeah,
we don't have that foundation much anymore.
Unfortunately, the NR system has gone to the stage of, they're wanting to improve the longevity of the horses and the older horses. But I know I only went to Porphyry High School, but you don't get old horses if you don't have young horses. So
that's right.
I think, if there's got to be some criticism, it's got to be that there's not enough incentive to breed young horses. No. I mean, if you've got 5 stallions, you've only got to get 100 mares. That's 100 more horses in the pool that will race here in South Australia.
And be different variety.
Well, different variety. And I think what we need to do is we need to have an incentive. When John Dummersney was in charge of New South Wales, we were discussing, and I put some proposals forward about the cost of actually, from the time you put the mare to the stallion to the time you get to the 2-year-old to the track, that cost is exorbitant. And Mr. Seymour has spoken to me recently about it. There needs to be incentive. Unfortunately, everybody seems to be focused on these old horses. Well, you're always going to have wastage. That's not a problem. So you've either got to put races on for those horses that aren't up to scratch, but you need some incentive to breed. And I think the incentives in New South Wales, which are just being changed, because they did get sort of used a bit, I think we need to have an incentive for mares that get put in foal. Yep. As soon as you get a 42-day positive test, the owner should be paid $250 or $300. And when the mare has a foal, I think there should be a $500 bonus. But that $500, 300 of that should be retained by the board to make that foal eligible for the South Australian Southern Cross Series. So you'd get $200. So overall you might get $250, $200. You might get $450, and you have your mare made eligible. Now, mares that are served interstate, served by your stallions, can under the same pretext, but they don't get the $500, they get the $200. Correct. But the $300 makes them eligible here because that stallion is based in South Australia. And if we could get between with Stephen Norman and yourself and some of the stallions down south, if we could get another 200 plus mares in the system, that's right, foals into the system, that is reassuring that you can know going forward that in 3 or 4 years' time, you're not going to be struggling to get 2 and 3-year-old races, because even if you breed 200 foals, you might only get 20 of those to race as 2-year-olds, but you've got 2 fields of 10. At the moment, you struggle to get in.
And it also changes it up a little bit. So, when they start to race, there's more variety for the betting pool to have a bet as well, because they see the same horses going around every week. They're not going to bet on that horse because they know that this horse was better than that one. And
exactly.
It's just a chain. It's just massive chain reaction where you're going to create a foundation later for a better turnover for betting as well, because it's going to be a different variety. different horses.
I think, unfortunately, when with these futurity races, if they're saying there's going to be a final for X amount of dollars, basically they have to run it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have small fields,
We have to
it
run
makes it very, very difficult. So that's just my personal view, and I think if they're going, we aren't the flavour of the month as far as, you know, the old days.
Yeah, well,
everyone had every farmer down the peninsula had a mare, and there was stallions standing everywhere. Dean James and down at Murdoch's or Waruka, and everyone had a stallion. Those days are gone now.
Yeah, they are.
Green Valley stud out at Gawley used to be one of the best studs in
Yeah.
South Australia and Australia. It's no longer anything. So you can just go on and on and on. So I think they need to have some incentives, whether it come from HRSA or whether they've got to get a sponsor in to handle that. But I'm positive. I don't know what your thoughts are, but that's
Well, I'm
what
basically down the same line as what you're thinking. But you know what helped me really decide on going to breeding and creating stallions and was to have a look at all these other studs that were vanishing. You know, eventually, if they disappear, what are we going to have left? We're going to have nothing.
Well, I think at the moment is if you don't have any product, and I can remember when there was the big thing on Four Corners about 6-7 years ago, and all of a sudden you had all these people saying we should breed less horses. Well, that was ridiculous because of the horses bred, only 60% of them were actually getting to the track, or 70%.
Yeah, correct.
So I used to say we need races for skunks, which is the slow ones. So if you're not going to beat Emma Stewart and you're not going to beat Luke McCarthy, and you're not good enough to beat Ryan Hohoric or whoever, have races on where they're for but you can still win your bonus, and you still got a winner for the mare. So
That's right.
anyway, I think we're both on the same track. Hopefully you have some good results and like some good support, and hopefully maybe the board might be able to have some proposals put to them. I'm sure that if anybody has any ideas or anybody that I'm sure you'll be listening to them, and if anybody needs any pedigree matching, I'm sure that they can contact you and you can put them on to
The right direction.
I mean, like I've got a heap of mares by Art Major. I can't put them to my general league because he's by Art Major, but I can go to
Gotta go collect. And once the 2-year-olds, so this year will be the first lot of 2-year-olds that'll come out from Gotta Go Collect. I think once a lot of the people see them going around, I'll start to eyes will light up, because a lot of them that we've seen so far, especially one that I've got, they go really nice, and they've got a lot of high speed in them. So I think once they start to hit the track,
that's for sure. It's no different than if you see the Gotta Go Collect racing in Queensland, you say, well, that's a different breed, that's a different trainer, that's a different track. But when you actually see one here, it was like when Major Secret started here. He nobody knew if he was going to get any winners, and all of a sudden he got Beijing Major, whatever, and some nice horses. So I'm sure that with some of those mares you got, I know some of those mares are really well bred, and we hope that Belmore Park is a very busy place with horse transports and semen transports going out the door. So
you don't have to sell batteries anymore.
well, I don't know about that. I think Lisa will tell you to sell batteries no matter what you do. Now, Mario, before we wind up, there's obviously like people watching this will want to know how they can get in contact with you. I know you've got Facebook. Is that just Belmore Park?
No, look, we've got a Facebook page. We've also got a website, so Belmore Park website.
What's that?
www.belmoreparkstud.com.au.
Okay. Thank God you got a clever son, because he would have worked that out. He would have done that for sure.
No, I've got someone else to do it actually. But no, we've got that. So on the website, it's got the stallions, and it's got their history, and it's got their service fees, and there's also booking forms on there. It's got everything on it, and we also do like the pedigree matching. So if you want to have some pedigree matching, you can get in contact with us through the website.
So just on that, a lot of people don't realise the days of luck. I'm a true believer.
No.
It doesn't happen anymore. You have to have the proper matches, and it's proven. America's always, the USA and Canada have always been the market leaders, because it's bigger over there than the Gallops, where you will have a look at the good horses. Captain Treacher's a perfect example. The crosses that he has, and over the Australian mares, the paces, for argument's sake, anything the trotters, anything out of the Mary's Oldham family, which is a purely an old Australian line, matched with the American and now with the European bloodlines, it improves the breed. So it's a bit like a cup of coffee, but now you've got a bit of sugar, and now you've had a bit of milk, and all of a sudden it's a better flavour. So for anybody that thinks, that it's a silly question, get them to contact you, and you can have a look and say, well, yeah, our team think that you're probably better off to go collect, or you've got to go to whatever. And with the trotter, of course, there's even more because you've got 3. So
that's right. So we do have that. We have someone that we use that does all the pedigree matching for us.
Yeah.
So if you need someone to do a pedigree matching, you can just send us the name,
and
either
go
email, text it by phone. Everyone knows my telephone number. And you can text it to me, then we can do a pedigree matching.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be correct.
No.
Because if that was the case, everyone would breed a champion.
That's right.
But it does cut the percentages of loss down. And it's no good if you've got a mare that's 16 hands high and is a one-paced slug, and you put it in foal to a stallion who was known as a stayer and not a sprinter, and he's 16 hands high, you're more than likely to get a giraffe.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not only the bloodlines, it's also the type of horse, the attributes it's got, and go from there. So
that's right. Like a couple of mares that I've got at the moment, they're stayers. So I've put them actually to got to go collect because he's high speed.
Yeah.
So it makes it just blends that little bit more, so they can stay, but they've got that high speed in them. So hopefully that works out.
All right. So they all know how to contact you.
Yep.
Hopefully that you won't be selling batteries for the next 3 or 4 days after this is on, because you'll be too busy doing all the stuff.
I don't think so. I think we'll be selling batteries.
All right. Thank you for your time, Mario.
Thank you.
No worries.